Hello again.
Cheers.
What have we got this week? Another...
Well, I thought it's summer, isn't it? So, I like these glasses.
Yeah, we could drink anything out of these glasses. For our listeners at home, we are drinking out of these beautiful margarita glasses. Makes a change from the wine. We're taking a wine break. We've overdone the wine.
I think so, just because it's summery as well. You want something a little tropical.
Light and fresh. So we're on our margaritas and we look like we've both come off a boat. Again, another one for our listeners is we're both wearing stripes in opposite colours.
We're very nautical.
Yeah, we got the dress code memo today.
You did. I mean, the cruise ship would be a pleasurable experience, wouldn't it? Have you ever been on a cruise?
No, I haven't. And I don't know whether I would love it or hate it.
Oh my God, me too. I'm so on the fence. I've got so many friends that have done it and think it's amazing. And then there's other friends who are like, no, that's boring.
Yeah, and we watch lots of stuff on YouTube about cruise ships because it's one of those things that I find somewhat fascinating. It's like what goes on behind the scenes, because it's like everything looks perfect up top, but then you've got like little ants below, like actually running it. And how does it work? I would love to be offline or like totally off topic, and we'll get on to what we're talking about in just a moment. But one of my favourite programmes is Inside the Factory. Did you ever watch that with Greg Wallace? Where so they show you how they make something like a jammy dodger or a chicken nugget or something like that.
Stop it. I love that.
It's brilliant. It was on like BBC Two or something like that. It was so good. And I love finding out like what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, how they make it work. So I used to watch that. I don't know I don't know the name. It's on BBC iPlayer probably. It was a whole documentary or series on the best hotels in the world.
Yes.
And how they work behind the scenes and what they do. And it was like featuring like the Connaught and places like that, and it's fascinating
how they run it all. Well, we've dived straight in there to a totally different conversation to we're having today. But hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of We've Got This Maybe No Podcast. So sadly, today we are not talking about the inner workings and how things run. But I think definitely a conversation for another day, because that's really interesting. But today, an equally interesting conversation we're going to have about, what makes us successful, or what do we perceive as successful, and what do other people perceive to be our successes, which is a really interesting line as well.
Yeah, there's like certain things that society have dictated and set as what success looks like, but then also we all have our own ambitions and drives, and what do we want to achieve, and what does success look like to us?
Yeah.
But then also, are we all going after the right things? Is it the right stuff that we're actually trying to be successful at?
So tell me this then, like when you were like younger, growing up, early 20s, whatever, what did you perceive to be successful as an adult?
So my aim for success myself, I had it all set out, like I had the 5-year plan. Like when I was leaving uni, because I did fashion at uni. I know you'd never know, but I did. And I was all set to become the next Carrie Bradshaw in New York, working for Tiffany's. Like that was my success story. I was going to be fabulous. I was going to have the handbag, I was going to have the coffee, and I was going to be walking down Fifth Ave, and that was my success story. But I'm in Woking, drinking a frozen mugs.
Yeah. You couldn't fall much further. Well, that's so interesting that you've like touched on that whole like persona. Is that's a character, right? Whereas I think like when I was growing up, it was more like husband, house, 2.4 kids.
Really?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was
your aspiration.
That was the aspiration. That's what I wanted, I guess. And it's totally different. Like, don't get me wrong, like I always wanted to, have a good job and do stuff like that. But it was it was very different to, you know, feeling like I'd accomplished something by ending up in that like family environment that I deemed as successful. And I think that picks up exactly on our point, is that you were picking up on success to you as being this high flyer in America, walking walk, talking talk, dressing the way you thought you would. And for me, it was something totally different. So when I'm looking at you, or two people looking at you, one person might think that you have totally made it and be really successful because you've got 2.4K or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
and somebody else might be looking at you thinking you're not that successful because you haven't got that job on Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because I'd be really curious on where our inspiration came from to get there. So, I mean, my very quick kind of assumption is that I worked in fashion, so I was surrounded by people who wanted those kind of jobs. So when I was in my degree, and some people on my course have achieved that. They are incredible. They're buyers for some of the big fashion houses. It's insane. And they've done fabulously. And I think my dad was very driven, career driven. He wanted myself and my sister to be self-sufficient. So I think we were very career driven from that aspect as well. But it's one of those things of, where do you get that what inspires you to have that success target? Like, where does it come from? Is it your family? Is it your mum and dad? I mean, where do you think yours came from?
I don't know, because I would say my mum and dad are so different, and we've spoken about it a little bit before. Like, my dad was always working and had like a big job, I would say. But on the other side of that, my mum always worked, but in a different sort of job, like, compared to my dad. But regardless of what sort of job she had, like, the work ethic of both my parents was there, and that came down to us, and I see it so clearly in me and my brother. Like, even when we were at school, we were not the sort of kids that just like had a sick day because we had a headache or whatever. Like, my parents would be sending us into school, one, because you need to go to school, and two, because they had to work. Like, my parents wouldn't just have the opportunity, or didn't take the opportunity, to keep us off school or whatever. It was, you're in school, that's where you should be. And that played through. Even when I had my first job, and I'd be going out, nights out, hungover, I would go in. And that is the one thing that I have carried with me. And now I manage a team and things. I look at people, and it really frustrates me sometimes, the work ethic people have. Like, they're so quick to take a day off, so quick to do something. And part of me is like, God, I wish I would just feel inclined to take a sick day because I wasn't quite feeling up to it today. But it's just not in my nature.
And do you think that's because of the way you were brought up?
100%. 100%.
So would you say, obviously, your aspirations for when you were younger were the 2.4, the marriage, and things like that. In terms of your success ambitions now, one, do you feel you've achieved them because you've done it? You've got it. You've got a great job. You've got a husband. You've got lovely children. You've got the house. You've got the car. It's sort of, the package is there. Or do you feel there's more to it now? What do you think sort of you...
See, I feel quite content, I would say, in my current situation. Don't get me wrong. There's obviously things that you want more of, and as most people would find, oh, I want a slightly different house, or I want more of this, or I want more of that. But generally, I'm quite satisfied. Whereas, I look at Rory, and I always feel he's chasing something. Is, bigger this, better that, work hard this, work hard that. And it pays off, don't get me wrong, and credit to him. But, at what cost? How many hours a day can you give something? How much time? What can you miss out on? And are you ever going to get to a point where you think, what was that for? And interesting, you picked up on the parent thing, because I was speaking to my mum last week, and she really did say to me exactly that, is, why did I miss out on so much things, when you guys were younger, for a basic job, essentially.
Yeah.
But at the time, they didn't see it like that. But only now she's questioning what she missed out on.
Reflection's a powerful thing.
and I do worry about that. I personally feel like I've got a good level of balance, and I feel like I'm very lucky. And we've spoken about before, the COVID hangover has allowed us more flexibility, has allowed us to be more present because we're not traveling to work and things like that. But, back in the day, 30 odd years ago, that wasn't the case. You had to be in to work. Yeah. And then if you weren't working, then you were at home, then you were able to be around the children. It's a choice then.
Yeah, I do think there's been a great evolution of recognition that we're all human. We're not robots, and we're not robots built just to work. I think there has been a real evolution, but there is a challenge, like you say, about what is the right level of balance. And at the end of the day, one of the things, and I know it sounds a bit brutal, but I tell my team all the time, at the end of the day, don't burn yourself out of work, because if you do, I can replace you. Your mum and dad can't replace you. Your child can't replace you. Your husband, your wife can't replace you. You have to be accountable for your own management, and it's a very difficult one. I get it. That director telling you they need this thing tomorrow, that really important sort of level that you're aspiring to get that promotion or whatever, and you want to be that person for them. You want to answer that call and, yes, I'll do it for you. That's a very difficult thing to kind of push back so you can manage that well-being space, so you can be who you want to be for the people who genuinely want you to be there. But at the same time, like, that's your own personal thing. It's your own personal space. And it's a really interesting thing, because success way back to Vix of 23, 22 or whatever at uni compared to Vix at 44 now, like you, I'm content, but there's ambition. So it's not like I feel that I need to get to a certain level for success, but there are things I want to achieve.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. But I don't know about you. Do you often look at people in like more senior positions and think, my goodness, I'm so glad I'm not doing your job? Seriously, I do. I do sometimes. And that's why I'm really ambitious, but I feel like I'm ambitious within my own space, within my own boundaries. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I could, if I wanted to, and there probably has been opportunities over the years to do more, but, what's going to suffer for that? Like, when I look at, people like spinning, we've had that spinning plate analogy before when we're talking about something else, but doing so many things that you actually can't stay on top of things. You can't actually stay on top of work. You can't stay on top of your home life. You're being pulled from pillar to post. And I think that's where, I guess there's some difference between like Rory and I, because, I'm how we start, like, I'm PAYE and he's self-employed. To it, like, that's how it works. So,
there is a drive.
Yeah. So I can clock off at 3:00 and still get paid, whereas he doesn't show up for work that day.
Yeah. No answer. Yeah.
That's it. So you've got to be driven for that. You've got to push yourself.
Do you feel that, and again, that, you can tell me to carry on, but do you feel that, obviously being a freelancer, being, technically self-employed as Rory is, do you feel that affects his well-being? Do you feel there's a balance that he has to make sure his well-being's managed?
Yeah. 100%. And it fluctuates between like being really like well-being focused and being really work focused, and we do have these fluctuations of, I'm gonna say no to that, I need to keep this as my safe space. And then other times when you maybe see some competition or somebody doing something in your space and you feel like you need to get ahead. Yeah. And if we're going on holiday, that's always one of the biggest stresses, because you're trying to do everything in advance to cover you for the week that's away, and you can relate to that
completely. And that's actually, I was going to ask you about holidays to see, does he switch off?
No, God, no, never switches off. But the level of switched off that he would become, he would deem as switched off.
Yeah, so he's surviving in a because he's so high normally that actually coming down to a level where we would feel he is switched on is actually to him. Yeah. That's interesting.
100%. But as I say, it's a real balance. And I always, when I have conversations with Rory about, you know, work and pressure and success, is, as we've said right at the top, like, what cost is it? Because actually, if you're working so hard, you're burning out, you know, you suffer, we suffer, your work ultimately suffers. You know, we don't need, and as lovely as it is to, you know, earn loads of money, have a nice car, have a nice house, I would rather have nothing and have you being happy. Because actually, from the outside looking in, when I see, you know, mum, dad, kids running around in the park, you know, having a lovely time, spending time together, you don't know what they do for work, is anything at all, but they're having a great time and they're looking like they're enjoying it. Like, don't get me wrong, like, not having some of those like fundamental things like money, house, whatever, is a stressor in itself. But I don't necessarily think it's everything.
I completely agree. The age-old question of, you know, money doesn't buy you happiness, but my God, does it help?
It does. And I sometimes feel like when I say that, it almost sounds like I'm, you know, being flippant, or, you know, I'm not grateful or appreciative for like the work somebody puts in to give us some of the things that we have.
No, I guess because I know you the way I do, but I generally don't think you are flippant in that way. Like, I think you are a really grateful person. You appreciate, you know, the opportunities you've got and the things that you know you have. You are so grateful as a person. I certainly don't think you come across any other way. I think the difficulty people tend to have, and again, this sounds very like, I'm not trying to be sort of like an expert or anything, but from what I see, like, so many movies are based on someone who is dead rich, losing everything to find truly what matters. And again, there's got to be something in that. There's got to be something in that finding what truly, truly matters. I don't know, kind of meeting in the middle with, we've all got to survive. You know, taxes don't just pay themselves. You know, there is a way of like trying to get to a point where you have to compromise some things, but there's got to be a way of us all appreciating truly life.
And I think you sometimes lose the value as well. Like when you can have everything like that, drop of a hat. And again, we've spoken about before in terms of the children, when they're given everything, they don't appreciate anything. And then that's really frustrating for us. And actually, are we doing them a disservice, you know, by not seeing the value or seeing the hard work that goes into something, or realizing not everybody has that. And that's a really fine line, I think.
Totally a fine line. But I think the other side of it that I would also challenge is that there are many people out there, and again, sweeping assumption, everyone, but there are many people out there who love life and they're great and they're, you know, they would drop anything to help another person like this. But there are a small minority of people who I genuinely feel they're on just the wrong lines, and, you know, they're just
on another planet.
Well, yeah, and I'm like, how do you think that's okay? You know, oh, well, I mean, I remember this is way back when I used to work in Canary Wharf, right? And I'm sure it's a different place now. But when I worked there, it was very much like, you know, traders and all the rest of it, all the finance people. And I remember being stood in a queue at Boots. And, you know, it's Boots. I'm not in like Harvey Nicks. I'm in Boots, right? And this person behind me is like, yeah. So, oh God, do you know what? If I don't get that bonus, I cannot even imagine me not going to Saint-Tropez. Like, I can't even imagine. It's not, it won't happen. I'm just gonna have to insist they give me my bonus. And I'm like going, dude, like, you're stood in Boots. Like, what? And I was almost like, I want to know what life you live.
Right. But like, that could very easily have been for show, right? And that is something else as well, is do you put on this level of success for other people's benefit? So we know, right, and we've spoken about before, is, spending money you don't have to, I don't know, to make other people happy, or to try and make other people happy, or to make yourself feel happy in other people's company. That as well is, where do you hold your value? Like, where do you think other people hold your value? Because to some people, having the fancy car, the nice watch, the nice holiday is success, right?
Yep.
So you sort of put that on, but they don't know that you've paid for all of that on a credit card, and actually you're living on the breadline.
Well, that's it. And it's I mean, credit cards are very clever things, but at the same time, very dangerous things. And it's the perception, that's very dangerous as well. So there's a pressure almost. Can you remember the last episode we were talking about, and I was saying about the party house, and I was saying about how, like, that was my rep.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember about, I don't know, 15 years ago now, when I was that's where sort of everybody used to come. I used to host all the parties. I would get myself into debt. I would push my limits to get all the booze, to take the party to the next level, to do all those extra things, because I didn't want to lose that rep. So again, there's that fear of loss of status and that person in your group, and the fear of not being invited again, that fear of not being included because I wasn't bringing the show that I normally bring. And it's like, why?
At what cost?
Yeah.
So do you have, like, friends, all of, I guess, like, different levels of success in different forms?
Eye-wateringly so.
Okay.
Absolutely eye-wateringly so. Like, I am very appreciative of all my friends that I hold. And there are some of my friends who have been astronomically successful, and I'm incredibly like, whoa, like, good for you, girl. Like, you have done it. Snaps for you. But then there are some of my friends who have, and do you know what? These people, I think I really respect, because they've chosen. I have some of my friends who have recognized either they have ADHD, or they find things, they've got dyslexia or something that has triggered sort of a decision, or they just recognize that they want to live a certain lifestyle where it's limited the success financially or anything like that. So they have realized to be content in life, to have that, success story in their lives, it's to work part-time, have move out of London, find that place, that is less rent. So it means they can live the life they want to lead. That makes them more comfortable with either their condition that they have, or the priorities that they have in their life. And I think that's a really strong character to have, because a lot of people wouldn't do that. It's very hard for you to kind of be someone and then suddenly kind of leave that just because,
choice. Yeah.
And I think that's really brave. And I don't mean that in a patronizing way. It's a very powerful thing to recognize what you need, or your partner needs, or your family need, and look at that and go, that's the priority. As much as I would love that 2 holidays a year, I compromise my holidays to make sure that my family are happy and our well-being is managed. It's a tough call sometimes.
Do you think as well, though, and again, we had this conversation a few weeks ago now about, being influenced by other people. It's like you feel like you're seeing all of these people being successful on social media, whether that be going on all the holidays, or having the beautiful family and all the rosy stuff. It almost puts like this unrealistic expectation on you, because you're seeing these like Insta families, they look like they never argue, and then you're thinking, God, we've had 5 Barneys this week and it's only Wednesday. Do you know what I mean? It's like, do we now expect, or have, we expect that we shouldn't actually be being normal because the unnormal was being normalized?
Well, I think I got you. But yeah, I mean, social media and all the rest of it, kind of reality TV and things, kind of do set some sort of, pedestal, I think, in some way for us all. But it's I mean, success is one of those things that it's such a weird word in a way, because it's been kind of, when you think of success, kind of that dollar sign tends to kind of
money
come to you straight away. But like I was saying at the beginning, like, are we seeking the wrong thing? So, you know, what defines success to everybody? And, you know, like, even think of our podcast and the discussion we had at the beginning of starting this, you know, and we want it to be a success, but now we're just we just want people to enjoy what we're doing because we feel we want people to feel seen through what we're doing.
Yeah. And and the level of success changes because actually what we were getting in terms of feedback, comments, views, all of that stuff at the start, we would have thought that was really successful. Now, comparatively, what we're getting now that's successful. Now we want to do more. We want to reach more people. We want to engage more people and have more people having those conversations. So you're just constantly pushing those boundaries. I guess it's quite hard to, you know, rein it back in and say, nah, I'm actually happy with this.
And should we? This is the question as well. Like, should you ever stop? You know, should you ever go, right, that's it, I'm fine now, I'm content, I'm done, it's all over? Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't think you should, but I guess it's where you channel it. So if you take your foot off the gas a little bit, say from a work perspective, which then gives you more time to grow and push forward in another area. So say you're, you know, neglecting your family time, you know, but then you halt that a little bit and then put more work into your family time, then, you know, it balances it out.
It's a really, it's one that really kind of, I don't know, I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say, but I think it is really individual. And again, I'll come back to that phrase that if I had a band for every time I say it, but it's trusting your gut.
Yeah.
It's really understanding what you redefine. And it's kind of, it's listening to the noise around us and the community and the, you know, the influence and the, you know, what your mum and dad want and what you want and what your career wants, blah, blah, blah. But it's almost like trying to hear through the noise what matters. And is what success does that, like, what level of success is that?
Do you think you value other people's opinion on your success? Do you think that's weighted quite highly?
Spicy. Yes and no.
Okay.
It's a really interesting one. So I would say my success based on yes, if it's something that would help me grow. You know how I was saying I was addicted to feedback? Like, I'm addicted to people kind of telling me, like, literally, I said this to Lawrence the other day. I was like, for an hour, what do you think I could change? Is there anything you want me to improve? Is there anything that you'd...
Oh, you're good. You're seeking it out. Whereas I'm like, don't tell me.
So I'm kind of like, I don't know whether it's a therapy or whatever, but like, I always want to know. And I don't know, there's that whole thing of part of me wants to know if I think I can grow. And if they tell me, well, actually, you know, this could make you better, or this could make, you know, help you more with your confidence, or help you more with your professionalism, or help you more with your parenting, whatever, I definitely want to listen to have the opportunity to grow. But then, like, for example, you know, comments on posts or, you know, something where we've worked really hard. For example, at the charity, when we work really hard on a campaign and someone, you know, comes and slashes it and says it's ridiculous and complains about it and things like that, I'm very willing to hear them out, but I'm very willing to also maybe press the delete button.
Yeah, I get that.
You know, walk away from it. So it's about parenting as well. People have their own opinions. I mean, I don't know how grapey you can get about it, but when someone starts telling me about how to parent my child, I'm more than happy that that's their opinion. But there's more of the times I will smile and nod and go, yeah, that's good.
And that's the thing, it's like I'm sure there's many times where people look at me and think, God, she's got it together. She's so lucky. Look at her, look at her setup, I guess. And then other times somebody would be like, oh, God, I'm not her. Like, do you know what I mean?
People don't know the full pictures. This is the thing. So, like, for every insta-perfect moment or perceived moment we have, you know, whoever we are, there's always, like you say, a compromise. There's always something. Nobody is perfect. Nobody has it all together. You know, there's always something. Because, I mean, you know, like we've said before, I mean, Rory does a phenomenal job. He has, has an incredible career. And, for someone who has, started relatively late in the game, what a work ethic he's got. But then at the same time, it's like, all the times we sort of get together, sometimes Rory has to come a bit later, or he has to
put that first.
And it's such a shame because we're like, oh, we love Rory. We want Rory to be there.
What he says is, I'm doing this for us.
So this is interesting. So this is actually a point I was going to make before, but then totally got distracted, which is no surprise. My dad did the same thing.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, my dad, and he was he's actually, I will say it, dad is one of my idols. He worked so hard and was so innovative with what he did. But there was a compromise, and that was that my sister and I never saw him. I mean, my God, we love all the presents we got from when he was traveling the world with this wonderful career and all the gifts that we got given. But, what I wouldn't have given for him to come pick me up from school, stuff like that. And again, it's like we understood because he was very good at explaining why, and we got that he was doing it for us. And he, we used to go to Disney World, and he was like, well, if you want that Disney World holiday, Daddy needs to go and earn the pennies. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Go.
You understood that, though. You could rationalise that.
But at the same time, I've had many sessions on my dad at therapy because of maybe the absence. But again, when we were talking about it in a couple of episodes ago about you never know what you have. You could give your child everything, but there is always an unmet need. And again, as a parent, you genuinely do everything that you want, for that child or their children. Like you do everything, and you compromise yourself so you can give to your family, to give for us, like Rory's saying, But there will always be.
Do you wish now, looking back, that you had less, but you had more time with your dad?
Mm.
You do.
I do. I think at the time I was a spoiled brat. And I am phenomenally grateful for the life I got and have now, still, really, with the parents I've got. My parents are incredible. But I do think there was a quality of time, a type of quality of time that I didn't get. And again, it's not a regret, but I think as a child, I loved spending time with my dad so much. But I didn't have it as much as I probably wanted to. And I maybe got materialistically distracted to kind of fill the void. But when I reflect, that's probably the case. And that's where I'm so, so grateful that Sophia was born in lockdown, because her first year, she got to spend the entire year with her dad. Lawrence was there because we were at home. So, what's parental leave, the paternal leave? 2 weeks? He would have had 2 weeks and he would have gone straight back into work. He had a whole year with her. So he saw her walk. He was there for the first feeding. He got her first smile, obviously. But, those things that probably he wouldn't have seen, he did. And I just think that's so powerful. And, he's so much more present than I think my dad could have been. And I'm not saying I wish my dad would have, because he chose to earn the money so we were financially secure, we were safe. There was all these things that came with it, but
it's so hard because it does come back to at what cost. So like you see the benefits and you see the cons, right? Like, and you're reaping the benefits now, you reap the benefits as a child, but like that inner person is obviously dealing with the loss of that.
Are you worried for your children with anything? Is there anything that you're...
I think it's just about like having the balance and like, COVID and actually Rory moving into this world that he's in now probably has benefited us because he does now work primarily from home. Even though he's working long hours, he's still at home, so he's still around. Whereas if he'd have just continued in his corporate job, climbing the corporate ladder, as some people see as successful, then he may have been more distant anyway. So I think he does have a really good balance. But my worries generally come down to, for him more than for the children sometimes is, I don't want him to miss out on things. I don't want him to burn out with things. And you picked up on, if we're doing a social event and sometimes he has to sacrifice coming to the social event because he's got to work, because unfortunately, the world in which he works within, if you take your foot off the gas for one moment, somebody's going to be coming to get you.
Yeah.
They're waiting for the opportunity.
God, that must be very stressful. Like,
it is.
Stress levels
We're
must
just
be
literally in a heightened level of stress.
Yeah.
And, it's just wanting to protect that, I guess. And he's like very determined. He's very ambitious. And all of those like character traits just feed into that, sort of like being that sort of person. But I think it's, as I say, we flip-flop between more work and more balance. So, yeah, difficult one. Whereas I feel like I've got, pretty good balance, arguably better balance than most.
And I think we have to recognize sometimes that there will be people that will have better just because of either their professions. If you think of like surgeons, GPs, I mean, I'm going down the health route because that's obviously what the department I work in.
Think about that even when people that you see working in the supermarket. So, for
example, oh my God,
if I need to quickly pop to the shop at 10:30 to grab something, more often than not, I can do that. Whereas if you're working, shelf stacking or checkouts in Sainsbury's, you don't have the flexibility to go and pick up your phone and call the doctor, or don't quickly do a bit of life admin. You're there front line.
That's so true. When I was younger and I worked in retail, I worked in the food service industry, I worked in pubs, all that kind of stuff. I actively decided that I couldn't cope with the lack of space for me, because I absolutely loved it. Honestly, if I won the lottery, that's what I would love to go back and do. Yeah. But because I didn't have that life admin ability, I genuinely chose not to continue down that aspect because I couldn't do it. And again, I totally agree with you. People who work in those industries where it is a 24/7 industries, hotels, travel, all these industries
right at the top. So it's wild.
Yeah, I have full respect to them, because again, when you're going for that antisocial, and I don't mean that negatively, I mean those hours where it does take you out of the normal.
Yeah.
Full. Well, let's cheers to them actually, because I think they need a bit of a cheers, don't they?
Yeah.
But success is an interesting one, isn't it? It's so interesting, and I just really hope that we all can really sort of focus on the right things sometimes, and we can, run away with these worrying thoughts and this anxiety about we're not good enough, or we're not doing what the other families are doing, or what that person's kind of career is doing, and I haven't bought the second house in Saint-Tropez, Sally Ann behind me on her phone. But we have got this, haven't we, Beck?
Yeah, we do. And you've just got to measure it by your own. Everyone's got a different thing, as you say. Maybe we've got this. Maybe we don't. Who knows? What I do know is we are just loving getting your feedback, your comments, your reviews, just, knowing that you guys are enjoying the conversations that we're having and suggesting some conversations for us to have is amazing. We just want to, reach as many people as possible, which is amazing. So thank you if you've subscribed. If you haven't, subscribe, follow, all of the things that you should be doing if you're listening or watching our podcast.
Yes, and any reviews that you can give us and share with your friends would be amazing. We'd be so grateful, just because obviously that can help grow our audience and also our tribe, because I think we are a tribe, and we've all got this and we're all here together, and I really want us to kind of feel that we're all here for each other, and it'd be great if we can grow and be there for the world in some grandioso way for each other or something.
Absolutely. Well, on that note,
I know, cheers. Too much margs now.
Last sip. Cheers. See ya.